Kumusta? Texas, US, Philippines, Canada, Australia, UAE, United Arab Emirates, at sa lahat ng mga lugar pa sa buong mundo kung saan man kayo naroon. Welcome sa Usapang Off the Record. Samahan niyo ako sa isang oras na kwentuhan, usapan with our special guest for today. I am your host, 𝗢𝗚𝗢𝗐 I'm an attorney licensed here in the state of Texas and in the Philippines, and I'm the managing partner of the 𝗦𝗮𝗢𝗐 law firm based here in Houston, Texas. Isang magandang morning, afternoon, and evening sa lahat ng mga nanonood sa atin ngayon dito sa live show sa Usapang Off the Record. Sa mga madalas nating nakakasama, nakakakwentuhan, nagko-comments, nagpaparamdam. We are very grateful na hanggang ngayon kasama niyo pa rin kami mula sa simula hanggang sa huli. At syempre tayong mga bago nating mga kaibigan na nanonood, kasama natin ngayon sa live show. Maraming salamat because we know here sa Usapang of the Record na napakaraming yung pwedeng magawa today, pero pinili ninyo na samahan kami dito sa live show. Kaya magparamdam na kayo by posting your comments, shout-outs sa ating comment box, because we're gonna read your comments, your shout-outs, and even questions later on or throughout the show, of course. And yes. And of course, ayan, may nagpaparamdam kasi ako. That's why I'm sorry about that. Yes, I'm very, very excited today kasi maganda ang ating talakayan. And Usapang of the Record ay live stream sa Facebook and YouTube ng Roof Chamber Radio Pinoy. Kaya like, subscribe, follow Roof Chamber Radio Pinoy YouTube channel and Facebook page. At alam nyo ba na tayo ay live stream na rin sa aking Facebook account? Kaya sa aking mga friends sa Facebook, tsaka mga followers, sana samahan nyo kami every Friday, 9 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. yan Pacific Time, at 10 p.m. naman Eastern Time. At of course, sa Pilipinas, yan ay Sabado na, 10:00 ng umaga. Kaya post comments, ask questions, bati ng mga kaibigan, at gusto ko sana na maging actively engage kayo sa ating discussion. Marami tayong pwedeng matutunan. Ang ating purpose sa show is to inspire everybody, especially the Filipino Americans, all over the world, or just the Filipinos o yung mga nasa Canada, nasa Australia, nasa ibang bansa. Alam nyo, I love to feature our Filipino Americans lawyer dito sa US at sa ibang bansa because I want you to see how they prosper here or wherever they are in their profession, in their field. And later on, we will also have guests na from other professions, because I want you to see that we are global now. Filipinos, we are global. We can be somebody, we can be big time, but it depends on us how we are going to look at the challenges in our lives, because challenges will always be there. It's just it's a matter of how you deal with it and what you do with whatever talents and opportunities that you have. Kaya sana ma-inspire kayo sa ating episode every Friday dito sa US and Saturday sa Philippines. At kung hindi nyo kami makasama during the live show, ay mapapakinggan nyo naman kami sa Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Listen Notes. Kaya kahit anong ginagawa ninyo, pwede nyong balik-balikan yung mga ating previous shows kasi marami naman talaga kayo mapupulot doon. Hindi nyo man kailangan ng mga information sa ngayon, but you may need it later on, or maybe you have friends or families or somebody that you know na may need that legal knowledge. Then you can share it with them, because that is our purpose, is to share knowledge, educate others of what we're doing, and inspire you to step up your game and be successful in whatever field you chose in your life. Yeah. Okay? At syempre, ngayon ay May 7 na sa Philippines. May 6 pa lang sa amin dito. Alam ko May 7 na dyan sa inyo. So 2 days from now, anong mangyayari? Election na. Naku, pag election napakaraming pwedeng mangyari. But this is what I want to tell you. Please exercise your rights. Go out and vote. Of course, we would love to see everybody exercise your right. Kasi Mahirap mayaman, isa lang ang boto natin. Diyan tayo pantay-pantay. Kaya kailangan gamitin natin ito ng tama. Pero alam nyo, ano man ang kalabasan ng eleksyon ay ang hangad lang naman talaga natin ay mapaunlad ang ating bayan at magkaisa. Alam ko na maraming mga nagiging issues during election, mga kaibigan na nagiging na unfriend sa Facebook, yan, na nag-ghost, wala mga ganyan, or nag-aaway-away, nagtatalo. At the end of the day, mga kaibigan, mga tagapakinig, mga audience and listeners, mga kababayan, ay isa lang naman ang ating purpose. Ay isa lang naman natin ang ating gusto ay magkaroon ng kaunlaran sa ating bayan. Kaya sana after election, ano man ang kalabasan ay magkaisa pa rin ang lahat para sa kaunlad ng bayang Pilipinas. Ayan. Alright, so election, very interesting. Sana magkaroon tayo ng mapayapang election, peaceful election. Yun lang ang ating pinapagdasal na sana ay maging maayos ang election sa Philippines. Yan. Okay, vote for president daw ako. No, I'm not running for president. Malabo. Okay, anyway, for today's episode, alam ko excited na kayo dahil pag-uusapan natin how to protect your privacy. And of course, empower the community through data. Alam nyo, data, usapan dyan. Lahat data yan. And when we say privacy, napaka-importante yan sa isang tao because that is your privacy, that is your data, that is your information. So, kailangan nating malaman kung ano-ano ba ang mga importanteng dapat nating tandaan when we are getting online, when we are accessing our emails, what are we sharing really to the world. Yan. So, sasagutin natin ang mga katanungan gaya ng what is electronic discovery? We will try to explain this later on. Of course, ang ating guest ay syempre, yan ang kanyang practice. So he can give us really good information. Like for example, what is data privacy? Why should you not use your work email for personal business? Importante yan dahil marami sa atin na nagtatrabaho sa mga companies and you know that they have strict policies. Bakit kaya? So, alamin natin. Siguro may ideas na kayo pero baka meron pa tayong mapulot na kaalaman sa ating guest for today. At syempre ba kung business owner ka naman, what do business owners need to know in terms of privacy? And how can you protect your own personal data? Ilan lamang yun sa mga katanungan na sasagutin ng ating guest for today. Kaya bago natin simulan ang ating usapan, let me introduce our guest for today. Okay, so here it is. Our guest is an attorney practicing at the intersection of law and technology. He is a product counsel at Tayo, like us, Tayo, which is a virtual help desk providing COVID-related resources for underserved communities, especially those who are of Filipino descent. He also performs data privacy consulting and management services for startup founders, small businesses, and institutional clients. Additionally, our guest sits as a federal appointee on the Illinois State Advisory Committee of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. And isa pa, he has worked as a staff attorney in the litigation group of an AmLaw 100 firm. Yan. Well, ito pa ang napaka-importanting dapat nating malaman sa ating guest for today. Very, very much involved siya sa community. He serves on the AABA, Asian American Bar Association Board. He is immediate past president of the Filipino American Lawyers Association of Chicago, kilala bilang FALA Chicago, and a founding board member and current at-large trustee of the National Filipino American Lawyers Association, nakilala namang NFALA, na ako din naman ay member doon. And I'm proud to be a member of that. He also presides as board chair of the Alliance of Filipinos for Immigrant Rights and Empowerment, or AFIRE, which is a grassroots nonprofit that organizes the Filipino community around issues of social, racial, and economic justice. At isa pang dapat nating malaman sa ating guest for tonight or for today, he is an alumnus of the Filipino Young Leaders Program na kilala bilang PhilPro. At syempre, bibigyan niya tayo ng magandang information, importanteng information na dapat nating malaman about PhilPro later on. Ang PhilPro nga ay is a US-Mexico Leaders Initiative. At also ang ating special guest ngayon ay kasama din siya sa National Asian Pacific American Bar Association na kilalang na PABA Leadership Advancement Program. And he is a former National Conference of Bar Presidents and CBP Diversity Scholar. Kaya sabi ko sa inyo, marami tayong mapupulot na kaalaman mula sa ating special guest for tonight, or for today. Kaya naman, samahan niyo ko, i-welcome natin si Attorney Mark Calaguas sa Usapang Off the Record. Hello, Attorney Mark.
Good evening, Aileen.
Evening. Yes, good evening here in the US. They can watch us everywhere. So it's daytime somewhere in another place. Yeah, so why don't you greet our kababayan na nanonood sa atin today?
Sure. Kumusta kayo lahat? I'm here coming to you from Chicago, a longtime Chicago resident, but I grew up in Michigan. My parents immigrated here in the 70s. So I'm second generation. I was born and raised just outside Detroit in the suburbs. My dad, his family, his side is from Pampanga, around the Angela City area. And then my mom grew up in Manila, but her dad was also Kapampangan. And so, like I said, I was born and raised just there in the suburbs of Michigan, grew up there, went to school there through college. So I attended the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And then right after that, I moved to Chicago for law school. And I've been here since, and this is where I have made my career.
Wow, I'm so sorry. I'm like drinking water because here in the US, it's springtime.
Oh, I have
allergy
as well.
You have yours. Yeah, look, I have my water too, and
Yeah.
but I'm listening. You're so Kapampangan, very interesting place because I know that Kapampangans, they're really good in they have this special delicacy there in Kapampangan. So tell me about your favorite Filipino dish. There must be a Kapampangan dish.
Well, there's sort of the most famous one, right? Sisig. Can't go wrong with sizzling pork.
Of course, sisig, yes. Yeah, so can you cook? Do you cook a Filipino dish? Have you tried?
Yeah, more so in the pandemic, spending a lot of time at home. I mean, I love to eat. So basically that's my motivation for cooking. And so, yeah, I try different recipes pretty regularly. Growing up, adobo, actually, a lot of people kind of look back and have very fond memories of it. It's actually not my favorite Filipino dish. I'm more into like sinigang and kare-kare. But in recent years, I found out that adobo is regional, right? So
yes,
different provinces, different towns, different families have their own ways of doing it.
Yes, different versions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so now, personally, for my taste, I put the coconut milk in there because I love coconut milk. So adobo sa gata is
yeah, interesting. This is the second time I heard of that. I don't know if it's Attorney Rabo said that last time, but I haven't tried it. But the adobo that I love is I want it a little bit salty and sweet. That's my type of adobo. Yeah. So, wow, interesting. Pancit. How about pancit?
Oh, all of it. There's very little that I don't eat.
Okay.
And I try everything at least once. So I'm
okay. Now here's a question. Balot. Have you?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Because I've seen some people, they can just, I told them, just don't look at it. Just eat it. Because if you look at it, there's some emotions maybe.
Yeah, well,
that'll be involved.
When I was really young, I actually took a really big bite out of it. So I didn't realize, what the chick looked like. It was only maybe my second or third time later where I didn't take as much of a big bite. And then I saw the little, head, and I realized, oh, okay, that's why some people are a little uncomfortable about this. But by then, I already had tried it, enjoyed it. So I'm like, okay,
So that's a good first
right.
experience because it changed your perception of it. So it's like, yeah, it's more of like the taste, not the looks.
Well, we eat, a lot of people, they eat the egg, they eat the chicken, and this is just the in between stage. So
Yeah, well, I'm interested in when you said second generation. Some of the Filipinos who are watching here right now, maybe not, they may not understood what is a second generation. Want to explain more about that, and also, what is your what Filipino culture have you observed at home in what you like when you're growing up?
sure. So I think some of the common classifications, right, for immigration is first generation is somebody who's born in another country and
Mm-hmm.
then moves to the U.S. Usually as maybe as an adult, that stage. Second generation is
We were born here.
born here, so your parents immigrated here, and then there is I've heard the term 1.5.
Wait, what is 1.5 like? What?
It's somebody who moves here, maybe like in like teenage years, so younger
Okay.
than adult, and so they have early memories, of the Philippines, but maybe like the latter half of their youth is spent in the U.S. So a little
Um,
bit more different experience than a full, kind of first generation, or somebody who kind of has no memory of the
that's right.
Philippines growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true because when, like, for example, if you moved here when you're probably 2 years old, 4 years old, or let's say 7 years old, you will still have probably memories of the Philippines. Maybe the language you still know. It's easier to remember and kind of use it. Then if you were born here, like totally, you have no assimilation in the Philippines. So when was the last time you were in the Philippines?
The last time was in 2016,
Okay,
which was
not
for
so long ago.
yeah, not so long ago, and it was for you had mentioned PhilPro, so that program.
Yes,
I mean, we can kind of get into it, further, later on, but
yes.
basically, it's an annual program that takes 10 to 15 young professionals here in the U.S. PhilAms, and sends them for a week immersion in the Philippines, where they meet with leaders, in government, in business, nonprofits, the arts, to basically kind of strengthen and build that bridge, between the two countries,
Mhm.
um, through the second generation or the balikbayan. And then in order to then kind of foster continued collaborations after that. So a lot of the alumni come back and they work on, projects that either, help advance the immigrant community here, or even, go back to the Philippines to, start businesses or, establish nonprofits and the like. And so it's a really great group of alumni. We have 84 now. Uh,
Wow. Okay.
uh, Actually, we've not been adding to that because the last 2 years we haven't been able to travel again.
Mm-hmm.
That might change this year, but also in response to that, we have kind of opened up our membership there to the general public. So anybody who's interested in connecting and networking, all over the country with other Filipinos and Philams, we're really excited that we're kind of ramping up our programming, to serve our community.
Yeah, very interesting organization. Whatever you're doing there is really, it's amazing. Actually, I started spreading the news to some Filipino leaders, youth here in Houston, and they're excited to know more about it. And I'm pretty sure you're gonna give us more information later on as we talk about it during the show. But you're truly You're amazing, Mark. Attorney Mark, you're truly amazing, inspiring. There's so much that you're doing for the community. Aside from your, of course, your professional work as an attorney, you're doing so much for the community. And I'm wondering, really, like, what do you do during your spare time? If you do have spare time, you know what I mean?
Well, as you can tell by my background here, I love music. So, when I can, obviously, the pandemic did kind of put a halt to that a little bit, but, we're opening up again. But I like to go out and enjoy live music, DJs, I'm really into dance music.
Oh, okay.
I'm here in Chicago, which is the birthplace of house music. And so
Yeah.
fortunate to be surrounded by that. So a lot of music. I also food is really important to me.
You're a foodie.
Yeah, I'll admit to it. Yeah, I
Just like me. Don't,
eating
yeah,
it,
be
eating it,
proud of it. I mean,
yeah, making it to some degrees of success, depending, but really eating it and learning about it.
yeah. So for me, when a, a meal is a social event and you enjoy the meal, not just for the purpose of filling up your tummy. So, like I'm so hungry, but I love enjoying the taste of, the food, how it's cooked, and to know more about how, the background of the food itself. So here in Houston, we have like a whole entire street of different restaurants, Mexican, Chinese, Vietnamese, Filipinos, and it's just so amazing to hop from one restaurant to another every week. Like a goal that you set for yourself, looking for some authentic restaurants. Yeah, it's true. Well, okay. I know that we have a very interesting topic to talk about today, and but before we jump into the discussions, the serious discussions about our topic, let's pause for a short break, and we'll talk about it after the break. So stick around.
Hello to everyone from Roof Chamber Radio. I'm encouraging all of you to stay here, stay in this chamber. If you want to be inspired, you want to be encouraged, this is where it's at. And we're all going to need this, especially, in this new year that we're in. We don't know what's up for tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen next week or next month. But I believe that when you gather with people who believe in the power, the faithfulness, and the goodness of the Lord Jesus Christ, there is power in that in itself. So stay here. Stay in the Roof Chamber Radio. Be inspired, be encouraged, and let's all go through life, not on our own, and more than just with each other, but let's speak the faith, let's share the faith, let's live by faith, and let's walk by faith. God bless you all, everyone from Roof Chamber Radio.
And we're back, and we still have attorney Mark Calagos here with us sa Usapang of the Record. At sa mga kasama natin ngayon, magparamdam na, post your shoutouts, your comments, questions. At kung may katanungan kayo kay attorney Mark, i-post na yan, and we will read it, and I'm pretty sure he's excited to answer those questions. And we have a comment here. From Rusty Lopez. Okay, hello, Rusty. Here's his question. Attorney Mark he's asking, what are the challenges that you have encountered growing up in terms of school, work, and social, maybe community? That is for you.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Yeah, I think maybe one thing that sticks out, right, is especially when you grow up where, in this part of the country, is you're definitely a minority. Even, more so than say in California, right? Or in, or New York. We do have a sizable Filipino community, in Detroit, but still, growing up in school, definitely from, elementary through middle school, I was at most maybe one of two Filipinos in any given year. So you're always aware that you're different, sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's more apparent, in terms of, people making fun of you or being excluded. And it's also, having a foot in two different worlds, right? So when you're at home, at least my parents, they were very much in touch, with the culture, and the values, and even kind of the cultural background that they bring with them, right? But then once you, leave the house and you're in school and you're in work, it's different, and it's not good or bad. It's just, it's a different way of engaging with the world, of how people relate, and I think, that for some people, it can be a difficult transition. And so, one thing I've been working on, and I've been fortunate to have, other members of my community, to help me kind of navigate through these issues of, learning to integrate, which is not assimilate. Assimilate means you lose.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Integrate meaning, taking what serves you from both cultures that you're in, right? So obviously I'm Filipino American, and I'm very proud of, the history and the culture of my family and my people. But at the same time, I was born, in Michigan. So if you're telling me, what's home, what are my earliest memories, it's not of, jeepneys and palm trees, it's snow,
Yes.
Suburban shopping malls and all that, right? And there's value in both of the experiences, and I think especially when you enter the working world as an adult, it's learning, how to be comfortable and being proud of all aspects of your identity.
Wow, very, very challenging, youth background, but you're able to integrate. That's the term. That's the correct term for that. Integrate. Because yeah, I mean, I don't know. I also heard blend in. I mean, those are some terms that I hear from different Filipinos trying to face the challenges and yeah, so to blend in, just be part of the community, and that's it. I mean, of course, we all have our own story of challenges, growing up, just the everyday life. You'll never know what's going to happen the moment you step out of the house. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Attorney Mark, and also thank you for that question, Rusty Lopez. Very interesting. Okay, so let's go to our topic, data privacy. I when we say data privacy, we're actually thinking about data and then privacy. I mean, how important it is right now, especially, of course, uh, is there anyone here who's not on Facebook? I'm not sure because I know even our lolos and lolas, uh, they have Facebook account, and some of them are enjoying it. Some of them are just using it to reach out to connect to other people that they've known for a long time but haven't seen for a long time. So but we're posting a lot of information there. We're accessing emails anywhere on our phone, I don't know, computer at work or even in public libraries. So how safe our information out there? So let's learn more about that from Attorney Mark. So I guess let's start talking about data privacy, or you want to talk about electronic discovery first?
Oh, well, I mean, the kind of the reason why I also, mentioned electronic discovery is sort of that's, I think, the longest time that I've spent as a lawyer kind of in that area. And just really quickly, it relates to kind of managing the digital information for clients that are, facing litigation or are conducting internal investigation. So one, for example, let's say you're a company and you get sued. the court, there's a court order where, both sides have to exchange evidence, records, so that each side can build their case, right? So as the law firm, our job is to produce the information that's being requested in that order. And if you're talking about any, a large modern company, that information is pretty much digital. So, and there's a large volume of it. We're talking not gigabytes, but even terabytes of information,
Yeah.
right? So it's very technical. We engage, other consultants and vendors to first identify, where the data is in the company, and then to collect it. So basically taking that data from the devices, the employees' devices, the company servers, and the like, and then processing it in a format that's easily readable, and then a large amount of time is reviewing it. So this is where it gets really expensive, right? Where you might have a deadline, a really tight deadline, and you might have to, throw a bunch of contractors on there who are licensed attorneys, to make sure that you are only producing what's relevant to the case, and that you're not actually also including records that are, privileged, right? Or are trade secrets or other kind of sensitive information that doesn't advance the case, has nothing to do with it. So I've spent a lot of time kind of just, being sort of that project manager and making sure that what goes out the door is precisely what is being asked of us, and that we are not disclosing, anything that we shouldn't.
Yeah, actually, my question related to that is, what if you inadvertently shared information that you shouldn't be sharing? Can you take that one back? So kasi maraming mga nanonood sa atin na, so ano yung binibigay mo sa other parties? Are you giving too much, or are you giving just what you're supposed to give? And what if nagkamali ka? You made a mistake. You sent out an information that you're not supposed to. What's gonna happen?
Sure. So, there is, a court order, a request, right, for information, and it's very specific on what is being demanded, right?
Yes.
So pretty much, if it's, most information you gave out, once it's out the door, it's out the door. If it is covered by attorney-client privilege, though, which is, communications that are protected, right? Because they're with an attorney who is giving legal advice. In some instances, you can make a motion and so or claw it back, as they say, and take back that privileged data. But that this is sort of also the subject of negotiations between the different parties. Basically, we need to make sure that there's an agreement beforehand, that there's a process to retrieve, those privileged documents. So that's why our job is really important, that we get it right the first time.
Yes, of course. But sometimes we make mistakes. At least there's a solution to that. So, and it's very important for sa lahat ng mga nanonood, no? If you are transacting business or talking to your attorneys, know when is it gonna be confidential or privileged, so that you know how much information you're giving out as well, because that's very important. I know that some people they're hesitant to share information to their attorneys because they're thinking that what if the attorney will share that information. So because we want, as attorneys, we want our clients to tell us the truth, because that's how we can advocate for you. So that's why don't worry, there's the privileged communication that we're not supposed to share. But you need to know that as well. Sa mga nanonood sa atin ngayon, huwag matakot na lumapit sa mga abogado, sa mga lawyers ninyo na tutulong sa inyo sa case. Kaya maging honest lang din kayo in giving informations, kasi we won't be able to advocate 100% for you if you're not telling us the truth. Yon, diba?
Thank you.
Okay, so Attorney Mark, we have mentioned about work emails, Why is it that we should not be using our work email for personal business?
Sure.
Uh,
So I think this may be the scenario that maybe most of your listeners can relate to. Let's say you're
mhm.
working at a company, you get your work email, and of course, you're supposed to only use it for work business. I mean, you probably have some sort of email usage policy at the company, but in reality, people they get careless,
Mhm.
or they get lazy about switching to their personal, and they might use that work email to do their personal business, or use it for personal communications. um, I will say, as the attorney who's in charge of collecting the company emails to turn over to the opposing party,
Mhm.
um, those work emails, they don't belong to you. That's the company's property. It's their email. It's their domain on there, right? So you have no expectation of
Yeah.
privacy in those communications. And I'll just tell you that over the years, I've seen everything, right, that people can inappropriately use those communications for, right? So very embarrassing things. Uh, you can let your imagination run wild. People have used their work email for it, or on the other side, even the most boring, your Amazon, purchases.
Purchases, yeah.
Yeah,
Like what you're buying online.
pictures of your family vacations, baby pictures. I'll just put it this way, um, that if you do not want a random attorney reading that, you need to, separate those types of communications. Keep that personal stuff personal, because the work emails, because they belong to the company, they could potentially be discoverable, meaning that they can be subject to the discovery process, right? So, like, if I'm working for, I don't know, an auto manufacturer, and there is some sort of defect, somebody sues over it, there's a class action. Maybe this is 10 years later, I'm no longer with the company, but maybe I was on the team that
Mhm.
worked on, the component that's at issue. Well, that's discoverable, right? Because that is relevant to the lawsuit. And so, you know, your your work emails, if you're part of that team, um, they are discoverable. So the attorneys can review those, and not just attorneys, in the firm, but any consultants and vendors they may hire to help them with the litigation. So just be careful, and be responsible with your email use. And of course, like I said, a lot of companies, they have uh, specific policies anyway about what appropriate use is. So
Yeah, well, also, you have to sign an agreement that that your communication using your work email is not private, so you don't have any expectation of privacy. So they're serious about that. When you see that in your contract, on your contract, you sign that. Of course, you have no choice to sign it because you want to be hired. So yeah, that is very true that they can access your information. So there's no expectation of privacy. And when Attorney Mark is saying discoverable, that means the other party, when there's a suit, the other party may ask for those information. And the your company will have to share that to the other party because it's discoverable. They can. So that's why you be very careful with how you're using your work email. Um, my question is just curious about because here we're talking about data privacy. No, some people they use hotspots, Wi-Fi. How safe are we when we use public Wi-Fi or hotspots? Um, do you have any information related to that?
Yeah, we should be very careful about using public Wi-Fi, because a lot of times those aren't secure methods of communications, and so people with ill intent, right, can intercept the communications and the data, right, that's being transmitted over that Wi-Fi network. And so, right, if you can name it, right, if you're banking online, or you're at the airport, or any of your logins to any of your personal accounts for the different websites and accounts that you use, that's vulnerable to being intercepted, and of course, and who knows what they'll do with that information afterwards.
See, that's a scary part because we love free stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, there's a Wi-Fi, and if you go to a cafe and then there's a Wi-Fi, we tend to use the Wi-Fi. We turn off our LTE, and we connect to the Wi-Fi because it's free, and then we start using our emails, of Facebook, social media accounts. So, yeah, just know that if you use public Wi-Fi, that you might be sharing some information. So be very careful. Like what Attorney Mark just mentioned. Yeah, they might have access, or they might get information, acquire information through the use of their Wi-Fi. So not don't use it. I don't know. Use it, but just be careful with information that you are giving out during that time you're using their Wi-Fi. I guess that's the
And there are
safest
other
thing I
tools
can.
you can use, which might be getting, a little technical, like VPNs,
Oh
um,
yeah.
in certain companies even, right? Like, like firms, will require you to log into a VPN. So it's a little bit more secure, because of any potential sensitive information you might be transmitting, while you're online.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So just remember, of course, there are a lot of levels of security. So just make sure you have those. I'm not sure what else other than VPN, but yeah, maybe I'm pretty sure there are some more there. So, what else that we need to know about important things that we need to know when it comes to data privacy? Attorney Mark.
Sure. So, just really broadly, right, there are different laws that govern data privacy. Right now we don't have a comprehensive federal law. So, we have state laws, for example, that could govern, how businesses collect and use and share that data. So, you do have to be proactive, I think, for a lot of these situations to make sure that your privacy is being protected. So, really quick things you could do, right? You mentioned, social media.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I think we've all found out is that, a lot of these platforms, can share your information with third parties and advertisers. So, if you want to be extra careful about that, just be regular about going into your privacy settings, and making sure that you're comfortable with what the default or what the setting is currently.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, for something like Facebook, I would caution about leaving your settings on public, because who especially if you're sharing personal information on there,
Mhm.
right? Like there are hackers and other parties who can easily will scroll through your posts, and let's say you mentioned something about your parents, right?
Yeah.
Well, for some people, right, your mother's maiden name is a common security question or password. They can use some of these personal details that you freely share to then maybe try to access other parts of you online and kind of connect the dots,
Mhm.
so they can get into your accounts, impersonate you, and things like that. So definitely I'd be wary about, leaving everything private. Also very important, right, is your passwords. Make sure that you have a strong passwords, right, for all your accounts. So, make sure that the longer the better. Make sure have a use of numbers and special characters as well. But also, another tool that kind of, above that is you may want to consider a password manager. So, that's a program that automatically generates a random password for you every time you use the website. So you don't have to remember a password. And so, generally kind of the industry folks say that that's a good practice, and those manager programs tend to be pretty reliable. So that's another thing you can use to protect yourself. We already mentioned, avoiding public Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
What else?
Using somebody else's hotspots, something like that.
Yeah,
Is that also safe? Okay.
Well, if you trust them, yeah.
Did you say don't save passwords? Because I do that a lot. I mean, it's hard to remember those very, very long passwords with all the letters of the alphabet and numbers and characters.
Right. Well, that's what the password manager takes care of.
Okay.
It's a secure method of logging in, which again, it takes away the burden from you for having to, be always vigilant about that. Related to that, of course, is you definitely also want to enable multi-factor authentication, or sometimes it's also called two-step verification.
Yes, two-step verification.
Yeah. So basically that means, when you log in to a website or an app for the first time on a new device, it will require you to submit a piece of information, such as, through receiving a separate code via text message, or they call you, or, going on your phone to approve the login. And that's just an extra layer of security to minimize the risk of your accounts being compromised.
Wow, there's so many tips that you shared. Definitely, I'm familiar with a lot of them, but I'm not sure our audience. So maybe just remember what Attorney Mark gave you. But of course, we have questions here. We're going to address the questions after a short break. And of course, Attorney Mark will talk about his community involvement once we come back. All right, so let's pause for a short break.
Hi, we are so pleased to be with you. Thank you for being with us. We want to invite you to be part of the Difusión Latina, Portal de Fe. We are the Spanish ministry of Roof Chamber Radio, and we are so blessed to be with these guys all around the world. Please be with us on YouTube and Facebook. We would love very much to know how God is blessing you, and please come along and support us. God bless you, and see you then.
And we're back. Yes, we're still here sa Usapang of the Record at kasama pa rin natin si Attorney Mark Calaguas. And we have questions for Attorney Mark. So let's put that on the screen, please. All right. So from Attorney 𝗟𝗚𝗢𝗔𝗏, he asked, do you suggest to use practice management software in firm practice? I guess you kind of mentioned a little bit about that before the break. Do you want to add something more to that?
I think just depends on kind of your practice and what you need to outsource. So right now I'm not familiar with kind of some of those programs. They just I don't need to use them in my day-to-day work. So there's I think there's lots of resources, kind of outside research you can do to find out, which ones are appropriate for you.
Okay, well, thank you for that answer, Attorney Mark. And we have one more question. He followed up. Why is it that there are so many privacy certification? Like, I don't even know what are they. CIPP/US. CIPP/E, CIPM. What are the differences of these certifications? So are you familiar with all
Yeah,
these letters?
that's a great question. So the International Association of Privacy Professionals, or the IAPP, issues several certifications to demonstrate your proficiency in privacy. So the CIPP US basically certifies that you have a foundational background in US privacy law and procedures. CIPP-E relates to EU laws, which they have their own separate and very comprehensive and in many ways a little bit stricter privacy regulations. So if you are looking to work for a company that does a lot of business in the EU, or if you yourself have European clients, that might be something you would consider. And then the CIPM stands for Certified Information Privacy Manager. So that's more the operational side, right? So how, those other two are more kind of law-based, but now it's like, how do I implement those laws into practice, so that relates to things like how do I, inventory my digital assets, how do I set up workflows, for my company that you can easily determine what kind of data you're collecting, where are you storing it, how long are you storing for, and things like that. So so it all kind of depends on what kind of roles in the privacy space you might want to break into, and certainly there's nothing stopping you from getting all of them, because there is a fellowship of information privacy which you get if you get the legal certifications and the technical certifications as well.
Okay, so the more the better, the more certification, because you'll never know when you're going to use it, right? So just might as well.
Well, I think one distinction is, do you want to be more on the technical side? Because the great thing about privacy is it's an industry where you can enter through different career paths, right? So obviously, if you're an attorney and you have a background in the privacy laws, that's obviously one very important function. But people also come through software engineers, right? Like the technicians who design the workflows, they will come in through the IT space, or even marketing. Marketing is subject to a lot of privacy rules, advertising. So advertising professionals can find privacy roles there as well.
Wow, very informative. I know that there could be more questions, but we don't have much time. I really wanted you to talk about your community involvement. This is where I'm really excited to learn more about what you do for the community. What do you do, as part of the 𝗏𝗏, the 𝗏𝗏 Chicago? So yeah, tell me more about your community involvement and how are you helping the Filipino community by doing all this, community involved in different organizations?
Sure. I'm really excited about this because I think there's a lot of great information to share with the public. So as you mentioned, I'm a founding board member of 𝗏𝗏. So we are actually celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. So we are the umbrella, organization for the Filipino American legal profession. We have 16 local affiliates right now, including one there in Texas. Texas American TFAB.
The TFAB, yes.
TFAB, yeah. And then and that's also comprised, right, of over 1,300 individual members. So basically, we provide networking for attorneys at all career levels. And we provide mentorship for law students, through career networking advice, scholarships, and then we also, of course, do advocacy, right? So we work to get PhilAms in positions of leadership in the profession, both in the private sector. So we're talking about upper management of law firms, but also in public service, right?
That's interesting. Yeah.
Getting judges, we need our judges on the bench, either elected or appointed, other public servants. So for example, this past year, 𝗏𝗏𝗢𝗏 was very active in promoting the candidacy of Rob Bonta for his appointment to California Attorney General.
Wow, yeah. You're 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is there. Yes.
Yeah, so that meant, signing on and recommending and endorsing Attorney General Bonta. And of course, that was a successful effort, and we're very happy about that. And then, another big thing that we are lobbying for, right, is for our World War II veterans who still have not,
they're still waiting.
Yeah.
They're still waiting.
So one is we want to get the Rescission Act repealed, which basically, was signed very soon after World War II, basically, taking back a lot of the, the benefits and the promises that they were entitled to. So we have, unfortunately, a dwindling number of our living vets, and we just want to make it right for them, while they're still with us.
Yes.
So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.com is the website there. So if you are an attorney, please do join us. Obviously, since the pandemic, we've been doing a lot of online programming. So we'll have, we'll continue to have that for you. And then, of course, as our, public health situation changes, we're getting back to some in-person events as well. And especially if you are in any of the 16 areas where there is a local presence, we do connect you to those organizations as well.
Reach out to them. Yeah. Well, this one, the PhilPro, can you please tell us about this PhilPro? Because I'm really sharing, the words to our leaders in the community here in Texas.
Sure. So I'm really excited about this as well. PhilPro is also celebrating its 10th anniversary this year.
Yes.
It started off as, we already mentioned, as a program, to send rising young leaders, to the Philippines to establish those connections. As I've mentioned, though, we are now expanding our offerings to the community. So again, if you go to philpro.org, you can learn how to become a member and participate in programming. And the thing about PhilPro, though, is that every industry and profession is represented. We are all about sharing knowledge and skills from different industries, particularly ones, for example, right, where there are still very few Filipinos, where we're underrepresented, which means for a lot of people, it means they're the only one that looks like them in the room, when
that feeling,
right? We want to provide a platform to help folks, navigate through that. And, personally, right, I think a lot of us who are second generation, I think our parents who maybe, found success because they were in certain professions, like healthcare, for example, is a big one.
Yes.
They were recruited here because there was a need, right, for healthcare workers, for example. And then now when they're raising their own children, they don't want their kids to kind of, go through that, that kind of struggle. And so maybe they'll push them to, medicine or nursing because, it's stable, and it's what enabled them, right, to provide for their family. But of course, there is a lot of tension, though, if you're second generation, because now you've grown up here in America, and there's actually so many different other career paths that are open to you. And it can be scary right? Maybe your family's not on board with it, or
Mm-hmm.
concerned for you. They're generally concerned. We want to connect you with other Filipinos, Filipino Americans who have maybe made their way through these different other industries, so we can share their lessons, so we can make it less scary, less risky, right? So
Yes.
whether, do you want to go into fashion? Do you want to become a poet?
Mm-hmm.
Be a marine biologist? Do you want to go into journalism? We need Filipinos in every single industry,
Yeah.
because time and time again, how many times have you heard, like, why is there no Filipino this? Why is there no
Mm-hmm.
Filipino that?
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to come together as a community and support our young folks who are considering, blazing the trails in these different industries, and supporting them, in pursuing their dreams. So as PhilPro, we want to make that more of a reality, or help them get to that reality sooner.
Yeah, very, very good intention, very good goals. Actually, yeah, I really wanted to see a lot of more Filipinos participating in PhilPro or any other programs that help them to find their to enhance their talents. It's already there, but a lot of us are scared because we don't know. We know nothing about it, and it's very scary. So the good thing about all these organizations like PhilPro and Fala and others, um, you only need to have that lakas ng loob to do it, take the risk, and find the right connection. Find the right connection because they're there to support you. So don't be scared to try and be in another industry, not just medical field, because as Filipinos, we could do more. We can be more. You can be a nurse and a doctor and an attorney at the same time. You'll never know. So like like if you're interested in music, you can be an attorney and a musician at the same time. So don't be scared to seek out opportunities out there and find support from others who have already been there and willing to support you or mentor you as well. Thank you very much, Attorney Mark. Thank you for sharing your insights here today. I know that we have very limited time, but I think we shared so much information, very informational, informative, and very helpful to others. Who knows when you're going to need this information. So, yeah, seek out support, ask questions. You know where to find, how to connect or contact Attorney Mark.
For the Houston folks there, very relevant. May 26th.
Yes.
PhilPro will have an in-person networking event at Be More Pacific from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. So
you're gonna be there. That's close.
No, I'm not. Unfortunately,
you're not gonna be there.
But our president, 𝗓𝗏𝗄𝗏 will be there.
Awesome. And May 26th, right?
Yeah.
Be More Pacific. Yeah, I love the food there. It's really good. The fusion of Asian of Filipino food and others. It's so good. It's a very nice place, and I'm very excited.
So
So I'm gonna share this information as well. So if you have a flyer, feel free to share it with me, and I can share it with others here as well. Yeah, and if you have any questions for me, go to our website legaldecentlaw.com or call 713-936-2889. Thank you so much sa lahat ng mga nanood at nakinig sa atin ngayon. Sana marami kang natutunan. Maraming salamat, Attorney Mark. Wala na tayong oras, kaya naman ang masasabi ko lang salamat din kay Fenji sa ating technical support ngayon. And of course, sa lahat ng mga nakikinig at nanonood, sana ay patuloy nyo kaming samahan at comment, questions na dyan, because that's how we're gonna learn more from whoever is our guest. Yes, and I'll see you next week sa isa na namang Usapang Off the Record. This is Eileen. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye and be safe.
Thank you.